The medical bay on Terex was a marvel of technology. Its smooth metallic surfaces reflected the soft blue light that filled the room, giving it an ethereal, almost otherworldly quality. The air was crisp and sterile, while automated drones buzzed around, ensuring that every aspect of the facility was immaculate and efficient. Kaylee, an experienced nurse of the Tekiri species, was known for her composure even in the most critical situations. The Tekiri were slender beings with almost translucent skin that shimmered with hues of silver and blue. They moved with a calm grace, and their entire civilization was built around efficiency, peace, and the advancement of medical science. Kaylee had seen her share of injuries, fractured limbs, organ failures, and everything in between, but nothing could have prepared her for what was about to unfold on that calm afternoon. She was in the midst of her routine rounds, checking on the recovery status of her fellow Tekiri patients when the doors to the emergency bay burst open. 2 Tekiri medics rushed in, their faces displaying an urgency that was rare among their kind. On the hover gurney between them lay a heavily injured human. "Prepare an isolation bay immediately," one of the medics barked, concern etched on his face. Kaylee's brows furrowed. Humans were still relatively new to the Tekiri, and while they had heard stories of Earth's inhabitants, they hadn't interacted much beyond joint missions established in recent years. Humans were perceived as both fascinating and fragile, a young species with a peculiar balance of curiosity and recklessness. The human on the gurney was in critical condition. His breathing was shallow, and his body was covered in deep cuts and bruises, blood-red and vividly contrasting against the sterile blue hues of the medical bay. Makeshift bandages soaked through, and his left leg was twisted at an unnatural angle, clearly broken in multiple places. Kaylee quickly sprang into action, guiding the gurney to an isolation bay where the patient could be stabilized. "Who is he?" asked one of the medics while adjusting the medical scanners. "Captain Jack Thompson," the medic replied. "He was injured during the joint training exercises in Sector 5. Sector 5 was a rugged area used for endurance training, filled with steep cliffs and unpredictable terrain. The Tekiri used it as a testing ground for resilience and adaptability, and Kaylee couldn't fathom why the humans had been allowed there. Their physiology seemed too delicate for such a hostile environment. Kaylee began her assessment as the medical scanners projected a holographic image of Jack's injuries into the air above his body. She traced her long, slender fingers over the hologram, her eyes narrowing as she analyzed the damage. The results were worse than she had imagined: a shattered femur, 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, multiple contusions, and severe internal bleeding. For a Tekiri, injuries like these would mean months of intensive care, and even then, survival would be uncertain. Stabilize his vitals, Kaylee instructed a nearby medical drone. The drone emitted a soft hum as it administered a series of injections filled with a cocktail of painkillers, coagulants, and tissue-regenerating agents. Kaylee watched the holographic display as Jack's heart rate slowly steadied, though his condition remained critical. The medics who had brought Jack stayed for a moment, their expressions tense. One of them finally broke the silence. "Do you think he'll make it?" he asked, his voice betraying a hint of doubt. Kaylee hesitated. "I don't know. Human physiology is different from ours. We will do everything we can, but these injuries are severe." The medics nodded solemnly and left the room, leaving Kaylee alone with her patient. She studied him for a moment, curiosity piqued. Humans, she had heard, were known for their tenacity, but looking at Jack now, frail and broken, she couldn't help but wonder how much of that was true. His face, though covered in grime and blood, had a certain determination to it. Even in unconsciousness, she found herself intrigued by the species that had come so far from their distant blue planet to join the intergalactic community. Kaylee adjusted the medical bed so that Jack lay more comfortably. She moved swiftly but carefully, her hand gliding over various controls that adjusted the artificial gravity field around his injuries to reduce pressure. She injected nanobots into his bloodstream, designed to repair tissue at a microscopic level, and initiated a series of scans to monitor his progress. It was all she could do for now. Hours passed, and Kaylee remained by Jack's side, her eyes fixed on the monitors. His condition was stable, but barely. The nanobots worked tirelessly, knitting together torn muscle fibers and fractured bones. But Kaylee knew the real challenge was yet to come. Humans, unlike the Tekiri, had unpredictable healing patterns. Their bodies were resilient in some ways but fragile in others. The scans showed his immune system working overtime, battling both the physical trauma and the foreign nanobots attempting to assist in his recovery. Kaylee leaned back in her chair, her mind drifting to the stories she had heard about humans. They were said to be adaptable, resourceful, and stubborn, traits that had served them well on their volatile home planet. With its unpredictable weather, natural disasters, and diverse ecosystems, Earth had forged a species capable of enduring incredible hardship. Kaylee wondered if that same resilience would help Jack now. Suddenly, a soft groan broke through the steady hum of the medical bay. Kaylee's eyes snapped to Jack, her heart skipping a beat. His eyelids fluttered, and his fingers twitched slightly. He was waking up. It was far too soon for a Tekiri to regain consciousness after such trauma, and yet here he was, fighting to wake up. Kaylee moved closer, her voice calm but firm. "Captain Jack, can you hear me?" she asked, her Tekiri accent giving her words a melodic quality. Jack's eyes slowly opened, unfocused and glassy. He blinked several times, his gaze eventually settling on Kaylee. He looked disoriented, his brow furrowed in confusion. Where am I?" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. "You are in the medical bay on Terex," Kaylee replied, her eyes studying his face for any sign of distress. "You were injured during the training exercise. You need to stay still and let the medical equipment do its work." Jack winced as he tried to shift his position, a grimace of pain crossing his face. "Feels like I got hit by a freight train," he muttered, his attempt at humor surprising Kaylee. "You should not be awake," she said, her tone a mixture of surprise and disapproval. "Your injuries are extensive. You need rest." Jack let out a breath that was almost a laugh, though it quickly turned into a cough that racked his body with pain. "Rest later." "Need to get back to my team," he said, his voice strained but resolute. Kaylee shook her head, baffled. She had seen many patients in her career, but never one so determined to move despite the severity of his condition. It was as if he refused to acknowledge the reality of his injuries. She placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, her touch cool against his feverish skin. "Your team is being taken care of right now. You need to focus on healing." Jack's eyes met hers, and for a moment, Kaylee saw something in them that she couldn't quite place. A fire, a determination that defied logic. It was then that she began to understand what made humans different. They were not just resilient, they were relentless. They refused to give up even when their bodies were broken and their chances were slim. Kaylee spent the rest of the day monitoring Jack's progress, her curiosity growing with each passing hour. The nanobots were working more effectively than she had anticipated, aided by Jack's immune system, which seemed to adapt quickly to their presence. Though still weak, his vital signs were improving. She watched as his body began to heal at a rate that defied her expectations. The fractured bones were slowly knitting back together, and the torn muscles were regenerating. By the end of the first day, Jack was not only stable but showing signs of significant recovery. Kaylee couldn't believe what she was seeing. She had treated Tekiri soldiers with far less severe injuries who had taken weeks just to regain consciousness. And yet here was this human already on the mend after just a few hours. As the artificial lights of the medical bay dimmed to simulate night, Kaylee found herself sitting by Jack's bedside, her mind racing with questions. What drove him to recover so quickly? Was it purely biological, or was there something deeper, something uniquely human? She watched as Jack drifted in and out of sleep, his face occasionally twitching with pain but never showing any sign of defeat. Kaylee knew she was witnessing something extraordinary, something that challenged her understanding of medicine and resilience. She made a note to report her observations to the medical council, but deep down, she knew that no report could truly capture what she was seeing. This was not just a matter of biology. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to be broken. As she sat there, watching over her patient, Kaylee couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for this fragile yet resilient being. For the first time, she understood why humans had been welcomed into the intergalactic community. They were not the most advanced nor the strongest, but they possessed something far more valuable: the courage to keep fighting no matter the odds. The medical bay was quiet, the soft hum of the machines the only sound in the stillness. As the first light of dawn filtered through the translucent walls of the medical bay, Kaylee was already awake, her eyes fixed on Jack. The soft hum of the machines created a soothing rhythm, but she felt a palpable tension in the air, a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. Would the remarkable progress he had shown the previous day continue? Kaylee stood up and moved closer to Jack's bedside, glancing at the monitor displaying his vital signs. His heart rate was steady, and although still weak, his breathing had deepened overnight. The nanobots were still at work, tirelessly repairing the damage to his body. With every passing hour, she felt her admiration for him grow, mingled with a sense of responsibility. She wanted to see him recover not just for his own sake but as a testament to the resilience of his species. As if sensing her gaze, Jack stirred. His eyes fluttered open again, this time more focused than before. He blinked slowly, taking in his surroundings with a mixture of confusion and determination. "Hey there, Captain," Kaylee said, her voice soft and encouraging. "You're in the medical bay on Terex. How do you feel this morning?" Jack's brow furrowed as he processed her words. "Like I survived a meteor strike," he replied, attempting a weak smile. "But I've felt worse." "Your resilience is impressive," Kaylee said, observing the spark of determination in his eyes. "You were in critical condition, yet here you are, awake and talking." "I don't do well sitting still, especially when my team is out there," Jack said, trying to sit up. Kaylee gently placed a hand on his shoulder, urging him back down. "You need to rest," she insisted. "Your body is still recovering from severe injuries. It's only been a little over a day since you arrived." Jack's expression hardened slightly. "I appreciate your concern, but I can't just lie here while my team is in the field. They need me." Kaylee found herself both exasperated and fascinated by his unwavering spirit. "Your team is being monitored, and they have the best medics with them. Right now, your focus should be on healing. Your injuries are serious, and your body needs time to recover." Jack studied her, and for a moment, Kaylee felt as if he were trying to assess her beyond her role as a nurse. "You're really committed to this job, aren't you?" he said, his voice softening. "I care about my patients," she replied, feeling the warmth of sincerity in her words. "And I'm intrigued by humans. Your species has a unique tenacity that I find fascinating." Jack's lips curved into a slight grin. "You're not so bad yourself for an alien nurse. It's nice to have someone looking out for me." The atmosphere shifted as they shared a moment of understanding. Kaylee could see that beneath Jack's rugged exterior was a deep-seated vulnerability. For a brief instant, she glimpsed the humanity that made him more than just a patient. "I'm curious," Kaylee said, her curiosity piqued. "What drives you humans to push through pain and injury like this? It's extraordinary." Jack paused, contemplating her question. "It's part of who we are," he replied slowly. "We face challenges head-on. Earth is a tough place, and if you don't adapt, you don't survive. We push through not just for ourselves, but for those we care about." The simplicity and depth of his words struck Kaylee. She had always viewed the Tekiri as the epitome of resilience, but Jack's perspective opened a new door of understanding. Humans didn't just endure, they thrived in adversity, driven by a fierce loyalty to one another. Just then, the medical drone whirred to life, breaking the moment. It glided over to Jack, equipped with fresh scans and treatment updates. "Administering additional nanobots," it announced, its mechanical voice echoing in the quiet bay. Kaylee watched as the drone injected the tiny machines into Jack's bloodstream, and she felt a rush of hope. "This will help accelerate your recovery," she said. "But remember, you must let them work. You're still healing from a punctured lung and internal bleeding." Jack winced as the nanobots coursed through him, but the look in his eyes remained resolute. "I get it, Kaylee. I'll take it easy, for now. But once I'm out of here, I'll be back on my feet." Hours passed, and Jack continued to improve. Kaylee remained by his side, adjusting the controls of the medical equipment and watching over him. As the day progressed, they exchanged stories about their cultures, Jack sharing tales of Earth's diverse landscapes and Kaylee describing the serene beauty of Terex. "Your planet sounds incredible," Kaylee said, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "I can't imagine a place with such vast oceans and towering mountains." "The Tekiri have only recently begun to explore the solar systems beyond our own. It's a wild ride," Jack replied, his enthusiasm evident. "We've got everything from deserts to rainforests, but we're all learning to adapt to each other too. The intergalactic alliance has been a game changer." As they talked, Kaylee noticed how Jack's energy surged, invigorated by the exchange of stories. His laughter filled the room, and for a moment, the weight of his injuries seemed to lift. "Tell me," Kaylee asked, curiosity piqued again, "do you think humans will be able to thrive in the intergalactic community?" Jack's expression turned serious. "We're just starting to learn how to fit in, but I believe we have something to offer. We may not be the strongest or the most advanced, but we have heart, creativity, and a desire to connect. That counts for something, right?" Kaylee nodded, her admiration deepening. "Absolutely. I think your spirit is what makes humans so valuable in our community." As the evening approached, Kaylee began her final checks on Jack's vitals for the day. She watched as he began to drift off to sleep, a faint smile lingering on his lips. Despite the challenges he faced, there was a peacefulness about him that hadn't been there before. Feeling a surge of protectiveness for her patient, Kaylee made a silent promise to herself. She would do everything in her power to help Jack recover, not just for the sake of his team, but to witness firsthand the indomitable spirit of the humans she was beginning to understand. As night fell, the medical bay was quiet except for the gentle hum of the machines. Kaylee settled into her chair, her mind racing with thoughts of Jack's progress and the remarkable resilience of humans. She couldn't wait to see what he would achieve next, for she was sure he would not just recover, he would thrive. And as she sat in the dim light, she realized she was not just a nurse tending to a patient. She was becoming a part of something much larger, a bridge between their worlds, fueled by the strength of a spirit that refused to be broken. Morning arrived on Terex with a gentle glow that filled the medical bay, casting soft reflections on the smooth metallic surfaces. Kaylee was already awake, her mind occupied with the previous day's events. Jack's recovery had exceeded her expectations, but she knew the road ahead would not be easy. She glanced at the monitor displaying Jack's vitals. His heart rate remained steady, and the nanobots were still diligently repairing tissue. However, the real test lay ahead. Humans, with their unique physiology, could recover quickly but often faced setbacks in their healing process. Kaylee felt a mix of hope and apprehension as she prepared for the day. Just as she was about to check on him, Jack stirred, his eyelids fluttering open. He squinted against the soft light and turned to see Kaylee by his side. "Good morning, Captain," she greeted him with a warm smile. "How do you feel today?" "Better, I think," Jack replied, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "Last night was rough, though. I don't remember much." "You were restless," Kaylee acknowledged, adjusting the settings on the medical bed to make him more comfortable. "But that's expected. Your body is healing, and your mind is catching up." Jack nodded but then winced slightly as he shifted. "That's an understatement," he murmured. "I'm ready for a real bed and some decent food." Kaylee couldn't help but chuckle. "I believe we can arrange for something more suitable soon, but first, let's focus on getting you stable." Before Jack could respond, the door slid open, and a familiar medic, Rin, entered the room, his expression serious. "I've come to discuss your recovery and the next steps, Captain Harrison," he said, his tone brisk. Jack straightened, sensing the change in atmosphere. "What's the plan?" Rin glanced at Kaylee, who nodded for him to continue. "You've made remarkable progress overnight. Your vitals are stable, and the nanobots have accelerated the healing process. However, we need to monitor your condition closely. There are still risks involved." "What kind of risks?" Jack asked, his brow furrowing with concern. "Internal bleeding and potential infection are still possibilities, especially given your injuries," Rin explained. "The nanobots are working, but your immune system is still compromised from the trauma. We'll need to keep you here for a few more days for observation." "I understand that, but I can't sit here doing nothing," Jack insisted, his frustration palpable. "What if there's an emergency with my team? I need to be there." Kaylee stepped in, her voice steady. "Jack, we're doing everything we can to ensure your recovery is as swift and complete as possible. Your health is our priority right now. If you rush back into action, you risk serious complications that could set you back significantly." Jack's gaze locked onto hers, the determination still burning in his eyes. "You don't understand. They need me. I can't just wait around while they're out there." "Is that what you really believe, or is that what you think you should believe?" Kaylee countered, her tone softening. "Your team will understand that your recovery is important. They would want you to take care of yourself first." Jack sighed, frustration mixing with a hint of vulnerability. "I just feel useless here." "You are far from useless," Kaylee reassured him. "Your healing is part of the larger mission, and your determination to recover is already inspiring those around you. But part of being a good leader is knowing when to take a step back and allow others to step forward." Rin nodded in agreement. "We'll keep you updated on your team's status. For now, we need to focus on ensuring your injuries heal correctly. We don't want to risk any long-term damage." Jack looked between them, the fight slowly draining from his expression. "Fine. I'll do what you say. For now." "Good choice," Kaylee said, allowing herself a small smile. "Now, let's get you some breakfast and check on your recovery." As the medical drone returned to administer more treatment, Jack leaned back, a hint of acceptance settling over him. Kaylee monitored him closely, noticing the tension in his shoulders gradually ease. Throughout the day, Kaylee worked tirelessly to ensure Jack received the best care possible. She adjusted the medical equipment, provided updates on his vitals, and engaged him in conversation, learning more about his life back on Earth and the challenges he faced in his role. In return, Jack shared stories of his team, his training, and his ambitions. Their conversations deepened the bond between them, transforming their relationship from nurse and patient into a partnership built on mutual respect. However, as night fell, Kaylee couldn't shake the feeling of impending challenges. While Jack's condition improved, she sensed an undercurrent of tension in the air. A message from the medical council had arrived earlier, and Kaylee felt the weight of her responsibility to report her findings regarding human resilience. She sat by Jack's bedside as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate night. "Jack," she began, her tone serious. "I need to discuss something important with you." "Okay," he replied, sensing the change in her demeanor. "Your progress is remarkable, but I believe we're on the brink of a breakthrough in our understanding of human physiology," she explained. "I want to present my observations to the medical council, but I'll need your permission to do so." Jack's brow furrowed with concern. "What do you mean? How is this relevant to me?" "I've noticed that your recovery is happening at a rate we've never observed before in the Tekiri, and I believe it might offer insight into how humans heal and adapt," Kaylee clarified. "If I present this to the council, it could change our approach to medicine and treatment for your species and possibly others." Jack was silent for a moment, contemplating her words. "You think I'm some kind of case study?" "No, not a case study," Kaylee said quickly. "You're a patient, but you're also an example of human resilience. Your recovery could help others like you who might face similar challenges. It's about understanding what makes you special." Jack's expression softened, and he seemed to grasp her intent. "You really believe that?" "I do," Kaylee affirmed. "I want to help bridge the gap between our species. Together, we can learn so much." Jack considered her proposal carefully. "If it can help others, then yes, I'll support you. But it's still strange to think of myself as part of some scientific discussion." "Thank you, Jack," Kaylee said, a sense of relief washing over her. "I promise to keep you informed of everything I share with the council. Your insights will be invaluable." As Kaylee prepared to leave the room, she turned back one last time to find Jack watching her intently. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "it's comforting to have someone like you looking out for me. I might just stick around and heal a bit longer." A smile spread across Kaylee's face as she nodded. "I'll be right here, Captain. And together, we'll explore what it means to be resilient in our own ways." As she left the medical bay, Kaylee felt a surge of hope for the future. Jack's journey was only just beginning, and she was determined to be there every step of the way, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. The connection they had formed would be crucial as they navigated the unknown territory of their intergalactic alliance and the extraordinary potential it held. The following days passed with a blend of steady progress and underlying tension. Jack's recovery was impressive. He had begun to regain strength and mobility, but Kaylee knew that each day would bring new challenges. As his body healed, so too did the questions surrounding their respective species' compatibility, questions that would soon be put to the test. Kaylee entered the medical bay early one morning, her mind buzzing with thoughts of her impending presentation to the medical council. She had spent countless hours analyzing Jack's recovery, compiling data, and preparing to share her findings. As she approached his bed, she found him awake and seated, propped up by pillows. "Good morning, Captain," Kaylee said, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. You look remarkably better today. Jack chuckled, stretching slightly. I think the medical bay lights are finally starting to get to me. I can't wait to see real sunlight again. Soon enough, Kaylee replied, adjusting the settings on his bed to provide additional support. How are you feeling? Better than yesterday. I can actually wiggle my toes without feeling like I'm going to pass out, he said with a hint of pride. Excellent progress, Kaylee noted, checking the monitors displaying his vitals. Your healing is remarkable, but we still need to keep an eye on your internal injuries. Understood. Any word from my team? Jack inquired, a hint of worry creeping into his voice. Not yet, but I'll ensure to update you the moment I receive any information, Kaylee promised. She paused for a moment, gathering her thoughts. I have something to discuss with you today, about my findings. Jack's expression shifted to one of curiosity. What's going on? I'm preparing to present my observations about your recovery to the medical council. I believe we may have stumbled upon something extraordinary regarding human resilience and healing, she explained, her excitement bubbling over. Your data suggests that humans might recover from severe injuries at an accelerated rate compared to what we previously thought. Jack's brows furrowed. So you want to use me as an example for interspecies research? What if it doesn't go well? It will go well, Kaylee assured him, her voice steady. Your case can provide invaluable insights, not just for our medical practices but for understanding humans as a whole. It's about collaboration and learning from one another. All right, Jack said slowly, considering her words. If it can help others, I'm in. But just so we're clear, I don't want to be treated like a lab rat. Kaylee laughed softly. I promise, you won't be treated like a lab rat. You'll be treated like a valuable participant in a groundbreaking study. With their agreement in place, Kaylee spent the rest of the morning finalizing her presentation while Jack engaged in light exercises under her watchful eye. They shared stories, discussed their cultures, and began to form a deeper understanding of each other's worlds. As Jack moved through his physical therapy, Kaylee marveled at his determination, noticing how he approached each small victory with pride. As the afternoon approached, Rin entered the bay with a sense of urgency. Kaylee, we have an update regarding Captain Harrison's team, he said, his tone serious. Jack sat up straighter, his eyes locked on Rin. What's going on? They've been located in Sector 7, Rin began. They encountered unexpected difficulties during the training exercise but are safe. However, they sustained injuries and require assistance. Jack's expression darkened. Injuries? Are they critical? Rin shook his head. No, not critical, but they need medical attention immediately. We're dispatching a team to bring them in. Kaylee felt a rush of conflicting emotions. On one hand, she was relieved to hear that Jack's team was safe. On the other, the urgency of the situation meant that they would have to act quickly. Jack, do you think you're ready to accompany us? She asked, gauging his response. Of course. I need to be there for them, Jack replied, determination resurfacing in his voice. I may not be at full strength, but I can't just sit here while my team needs me. While I understand your desire to assist, we must prioritize your health, Kaylee cautioned, her voice firm. Your injuries are still healing, and exposing yourself to potential strain could complicate your recovery. Kaylee, this isn't just about me, Jack insisted, his eyes flashing with intensity. If they're hurt, they need my help. I won't let them face this alone. After a moment of contemplation, Kaylee sighed. She recognized the fire in his spirit, the very essence that made him a capable leader. All right, but if at any point I see you struggling, we're pulling you back. Deal? Deal, Jack replied, a grin breaking across his face. As they prepared for the mission, Kaylee gathered medical supplies, nanobots, and equipment that could be useful for treating the injured team members. Rin coordinated the logistics, arranging for a hovercraft to transport them to Sector 7. Within the hour, they were on their way. Jack sat beside Kaylee, his heart pounding with anticipation. The terrain outside the hovercraft shifted from the smooth, metallic structures of the medical facility to the rugged landscape of Terex. This area is quite treacherous, Kaylee explained, watching the landscape through the viewport. Be careful. We'll need to navigate carefully. I've been through worse on Earth, Jack replied confidently. But I appreciate the concern. As they landed, the hovercraft settled on a rocky outcrop, and they disembarked into the chaotic atmosphere of Sector 7. The rugged cliffs loomed overhead, casting shadows on the uneven ground where Jack's team had been conducting their training exercises. The air buzzed with urgency, and Kaylee's senses heightened as they approached the scene. "Stay close to me," she instructed Jack, who nodded, keeping pace with her. They found the team huddled together, assessing their injuries. 3 members were seated on the ground, one with a makeshift bandage on a leg, while another leaned against a cliff face, nursing a bruised shoulder. The third was crouched nearby, attempting to console a fellow member who appeared shaken. "Jack," one of the team members exclaimed upon seeing him. "We were worried about you." "I'm fine." "Let's get you patched up," Jack replied, his voice steady. Kaylee quickly took charge, assessing the injuries and directing her medical drones to begin treatment. "We need to stabilize their conditions first," she said, her focus sharp. As the drones buzzed around them, administering injections and bandaging wounds, Jack worked alongside Kaylee, offering support to his team. They communicated through brief exchanges, and Kaylee watched in admiration as Jack rallied his team, offering words of encouragement and guidance. "You're going to be all right. Just take a deep breath," Jack said, kneeling beside a teammate with a leg injury. "Kaylee knows what she's doing." Once the immediate medical needs were addressed, Kaylee stepped back, observing the interactions among the team. Jack's presence had a palpable impact. His leadership shone through as he reassured his comrades, easing their anxiety. As the last of the injuries were treated, Kaylee turned to Jack, who was now panting slightly from exertion. "You did well," she complimented. "Your team clearly looks up to you." "Thanks, but it's not over yet," Jack said, his expression growing serious. "We need to get them back safely." "Agreed," Kaylee replied, determination flaring within her. "Let's make sure they're stable enough to move before we transport them back." They worked together seamlessly, Jack guiding his teammates while Kaylee coordinated the medical drones. Within an hour, the team was prepared to return to the medical bay for further treatment. As they boarded the hovercraft, Jack took a moment to look back at Sector 7. "We'll be back. I can't let this area remain unchecked." Kaylee felt a spark of admiration for his unwavering resolve. "You're a force of nature, Captain Harrison," she said, her tone light yet sincere. Jack smiled, gratitude evident in his eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Kaylee. You helped me understand how to truly lead." With the team safely aboard the hovercraft, they ascended into the sky, heading back to the medical bay. As they soared over the rugged landscape, Kaylee couldn't help but reflect on the bonds they were forging and the resilience they were discovering together. The journey ahead would undoubtedly bring more challenges, but Kaylee felt ready to face them. She had witnessed not just the strength of one human but the potential for cooperation and understanding between their two species. As they flew back, she found herself filled with hope for the future, a future where both the Tekiri and humans could thrive together, embracing their differences and learning from each other. Together, they were venturing into uncharted territory, and Kaylee was determined to explore every possibility that lay ahead.